Welcome back to WRPL. It's the podcast where we talk about all the things we were watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Happy Super Bowl, Steve.
Happy Super Bowl, Ben. I know you and I, big
Die
sports
hard.
guys.
Huge. The chefs are going to fucking take it this year.
I think so, too. Just the way they cook up on the play place.
The play place. That's what it's called. The rink. The football rink.
The football rink, yes.
Now, if someone gave you $5 and said, you have to choose, who are you betting on?
I mean, this is the first year I actually cared about football because, as I said on the podcast...
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Taylor Swift, of course. But from my fantasy league. But that was over before the playoffs. I honestly don't know which team is better, but I guess if I had to bet, it'd probably be the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think if you believe the big football is all planned and everything. Yeah, it's going to be the Chiefs, and he's gonna get the winning touchdown at the very last minute, and then he's gonna propose to her on the field. It's gonna be this huge bullshit thing.
I doubt it. I think people blow it up. But you know what? We're currently recording as the Super Bowl's going on.
Yeah. So what's the score?
Let's take a look here.
I'm gonna say 49ers.
Right now it is halftime, so we're missing the halftime show.
Oh no, Usher!
Yep. And it is 10-3 with the 49ers.
Okay.
So Chiefs are down by 7. But that's only one touchdown.
That's one touchdown, if they hit the field goal.
Correct. Look at you, knowing sports.
I know some things. All right, let's roll and get this shit started. Kind of once again, another grab bag. We didn't record last week. Lots of different things. No real main topic. But something we'll talk about more than anything.
We're going to talk about so much cool stuff, guys. You're going to be like, who needs a main topic when I got all this great content from my two favorite podcasters?
We have some books. I have some new releases. So lots of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's roll. What is that? Is that a 16?
That's a 16.
All right.
With an assist from The Wire, but...
It's always an assist from The Wire.
Speaking of, go watch The Wire. It's a great show.
Any chance to bring it up.
Any chance to bring up The Wire, I'm going to talk about it. 11.
Okay. We're not having a bad year.
It's all in the game, yo. All right.
So, first things, R.I.P. Carl Weathers. It's a shame. He wasn't incredibly old, but he was getting up there. But he looked great. I mean, he was in the last season of Mandalorian. I'm assuming they were going to use him for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that's coming out. It's a shame. Do you have a favorite role of his?
Probably Lefty or whatever his name was from Happy Gilmore. I know that wasn't his name.
No, yeah, but he was missing Chubbs. Okay. I'm going to have to go with Predator. He was just... such a big dude and one of the only people who could kind of rival Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time.
I mean, just the hand clasp alone is one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever put on screen.
And then shout out to him playing himself on Arrested Development and him being just kind of a weird penny pincher dude and taking Tobias's...
That's Stugo.
Exactly. And then the last thing I want to bring up before we actually get into our stuff. Did you watch the Hot Ones with Barry Keoghan?
I did while I was doing chores.
Uh-huh.
Why?
I don't like that dude. He came off so pretentious and smug. He's talking about, should I take my coat off? I know everybody wants to see my muscles, but it didn't seem like he's doing it as a joke. He's legit asking. And they're asking him questions like, how do you feel when they, cut some of your scenes? Oh, they don't cut my scenes. They want as much as they can get from me. I'm like, fuck this dude. He's a great actor. I've liked him in pretty much everything that he is in. But I think now everybody is kind of caught up to where his ego probably has always been. He's known he's a great actor and he's just waiting for his time. Now everybody loves him and he knows he's the hot shit. So now he could let it all out. And sorry to be superficial and stuff, but I've always thought he was a weird-looking dude. Everybody thinks he's a weird-looking dude. I know some people find him attractive in that weird, quirky way. Seeing him in Killing of the Sacred Deer, I actually thought he was someone with a disability because I didn't know him. But it's oh no, he's just got a weird face. So, but now, looking at him, and in that, he is really ugly. And
we can't air this.
No one's listening to this, so it's fine. That dude, if anybody says that guy's hot, okay, that's your kink or something. You're into ugly dudes because He's like worse looking now. I don't know. It was like the worst episode of Hot Ones because I just want to look at hot people. But yeah, he came off real smug and really turned me off on him.
I mean, once again, I wasn't fully immersed in it because I was doing chores, but I definitely picked up on some of that. But that just might be attempts at humor. But I don't know this guy. I'm not defending him. I don't give a shit. He might be the coolest dude ever. He might not be. I don't know. I'll probably never meet him.
Yeah, probably not.
But like
And
you
if you
said,
did, you
everything
would.
I've seen him in, I've more or less liked him in. Although I still haven't seen Killing a Sacred Deer. I'm working on it.
That's my favorite of his, I'd say. Okay, let's get into it. I got a bunch of stuff. Some of the things I don't really even have much to say about. Like, we'll start here. I saw a new release this weekend. I saw Lisa Frankenstein.
Hmm.
Uh,
I saw the trailer for the first time last week, I think,
mhm.
because I had never even heard of this movie. It looked kind of fun, and I was kind of shocked to see Diablo Cody's name again. I was
Yeah,
like, I don't think I've seen her since Jennifer's Body.
yeah, she did have something recently. Tully? She did Tully.
Okay.
But I never saw that.
Yeah,
And I
but
like Jennifer's Body. I like Juno. And this felt more like someone's trying to, I don't know, write in a Diablo Cody style, but not getting it.
mhm.
It's also directed by Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter, in her big feature debut. And I just did not like this movie. I instantly gave it an F walking out of the theater. I had like that little fun with it.
Wow.
But I stopped and like, you're being harsh. It looks good. Like
I was gonna say from the trailer, like,
the sets are good, the costumes are good. I think everyone's kind of given it their all. Good choicing on good choices for some of these actors, but the story is kind of stupid.
mhm.
Okay, when you think of Frankenstein, it's gathering body parts to create new life. Well, this is just a dead dude who died a couple hundred years ago.
Mhm.
And she's just been kind of obsessed with him and his grave because she's a little macabre and she walks through this cemetery and she just really likes this one bust of the guy. And then there's a lightning storm and he comes back to life. Not a, the grave doesn't get hit by lightning, it's just a lightning storm and it brings him back. He's hundreds of years old. There's nothing left. If this was a she likes this one dude. He doesn't like her back. He dies, and she brings him back to life. And now she has this hot boyfriend or
Sure.
whatever. That's a way of doing it. Or bringing someone back and you're taking all the best parts because that's part of it. Like they cut off a woman's ear to replace his, and then he gets put in a tanning bed that shocks you. It has like a faulty wire, and every time he gets more and more human looking. And so then now his ears works and he's missing a hand, so they get a hand from a guy. And I like that idea of like, oh, that person has great hair, scalps this dude, puts it on her new corpse boyfriend. Oh, he's got the abs, takes the torso, and then creates something. But he's just some guy, and it was just not funny, not interesting. I kind of was pissed off the whole time, and I think a lot of people will like this, and it may get that cult classic status later down the road, but not from me. This movie sucks. Worst movie of the year so far.
All right. Now, is any part of it, do you think, is you've aged out of this target demographic? Is this like, do you think young people are going to really connect with it? Or are young people kind of smart now too? They're just like, yeah, this movie just kind of sucks.
I don't think I've aged out of it because, as I've always said, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid,
Of
so
course.
I won't age out of
You do say
anything.
that a lot.
uh, and it's the 80s. I lived in the 80s. There was a lot of like fun little references that I'm like, oh, I get that. Or seeing her do her hair and putting on all this hairspray. I remember my older sister having really big 80s hair. Um, but I just think the main plot is for a Frankenstein tale is not very Frankensteiny,
Mhm.
and they don't go about it in an interesting way. And she kind of flips. Like she's the goth weirdo, but she doesn't. She's not as bad as like say Lydia from Beetlejuice or
Sure.
something. She's more like the girls from Heathers, if anything. And if she was more involved with bringing him back a wish on a star, a secret amulet. I don't know, something occurs.
Sure.
But it just seems like she's just there, and he comes and finds her, and her mother was killed in a break. Someone broke into their house and axe murdered her a year earlier, and so when this corpse breaks in, you would think like, oh no, here it goes again, and she'd be like completely traumatizing and couldn't even like handle it. But she kind of just shrugs it off. It's some weird choices in it. I do like the lead actress. Can't think of her name right now, but she's going to be in that vampire ballerina movie soon. She was also in Ant-Man Quantumania.
I think Catherine Newton.
Oh, you're so good, Steve. So good. Yeah, she's good in it. It's just not a very good movie.
All right. Well, I'll start off with something. Well, no, that's something new. I'll start off with something I haven't finished, but have started. Have you started watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
No, I was between two shows,
Okay.
and I decided to go with the other show, and I'll bring it up. But I've heard good things.
I'm enjoying it so far. I have 3 episodes in. I think there's 8 altogether. Or maybe I have 4 episodes. It doesn't matter. Point is, it's good. I like them together. I think they have a fun chemistry. Despite it being like a serious, like they're both spy assassin
Mm-hmm.
people.
Are they good at being spies, or are they
Not really.
They're Mr. Magoo's?
It's no, they're not Mr. Magoo's. They're very good at their job, but at the same time, like every mission kind of goes awry a little bit, as these things tend to do. Because it's not like they're not Danny Ocean where they're pulling off these elaborate sort of heists to get to the guy. It's kind of just like, hey, we need you to kidnap this guy in a room full of people, and it's like, and they're constantly like bumping into just everyday citizens that like it'd be like, why did those people just like kidnap that guy? Or what? This is a bad example, but the point is like they don't seemingly care if people know that they're kind of not just regular people.
Yeah, they're not good at keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, they're not as low key as you would expect spies to be. Now, many people might think this is based off the movie, and it has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever.
More like name only.
It's just we had this spy show that about two spies who are married. We'll just use the brand recognition for Mr.
Well, there
and Mrs.
is
Smith.
an old, I think it's an early '90s Mr. and Mrs. Smith show,
Oh, that was rebooted for the Brad Pitt Angelina Jolie.
and then the Brad Pitt movie was a reboot
remake
of that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So in that original show was more like this show where they know they are spies. So they subvert it
Yeah, yeah.
by saying they don't know that each other's are spies.
Okay.
Now they're re-subverting it
That's what I was
back.
gonna say. Is that in this one they know they're like they got put on the mission together to be fake married or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's a fun show. After the first episode, they played like this season on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they just show you like every famous guest star who's appearing in it, which isn't like bad, but I was just like, oh shit, Ron Perlman's in this, Sarah Paulson's in this,
Okay.
Paul Dano's in this.
But save it. It should be a surprise, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's always cool when you see someone you don't expect, but at the same time, it like takes you out of the show at the same time.
That's true.
Because you're just like, oh shit, I didn't expect him to be in here. So like, I think that kind of speaks to either Donald Glover's power because he's basically the guy who created the show.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people who like loved Atlanta and said whatever he does, sign me up.
Exactly. And I'm a huge Donald Glover fan, so of course I was going to check it out. Yeah.
Oh, you haven't mentioned that before.
Yeah. That being said, I don't think the show necessarily reinvents the wheel. I don't think it's going to win any awards. I don't think it's necessarily a show I would say you have to watch. But it is good. I think if the show came out 10 years ago, I'd say like, oh, you have to watch this show. It's just in the age of like so much content and the age of so much really good content.
Too much good content.
Yeah, it's like the competition is so fucking tough. Where I'd say like, just from the first 3 episodes, it's not like this show is going to be a huge hit or a critical darling because I think it's just good across the board, at least so far. So that's kind of the downside to it is like, unfortunately, as much as I love Donald Glover and I think this show does everything really well, I can't see it being something that people get really excited about. I think it'll be a 2-season show, maybe 3 if we're lucky, and then it's done.
Okay. Well, since we already talked about the Super Bowl, you want to just talk about trailers now, or do you want to save it?
Yeah, we can get into trailers. Let's do it.
Okay, a couple of new trailers because of the Super Bowl. One of the only reasons to watch the Super Bowl is to watch new movie trailers. Let's do the stupid one first. Twisters. This looks really boring. I don't want to say bad, just boring. Like, here we go again, another Twister movie.
Yep. I don't care. I mean, I'm sure it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something we talk about on the podcast.
Well, we'll try.
But we'll try. I've been trying to see Poor Things for weeks now, and I just haven't been able to fit it in. So if I can't see Poor Things, then
you're not seeing Twisters.
Twisters is like not on the top of my list. But maybe I just have free time that week. Yeah, Glenn Powell seems to be just about in everything now.
I don't buy him as like the next Hollywood it guy. I see him; he's perfect in like Top Gun.
Yeah,
handsome, big smile. You want to punch him in his fucking teeth because he plays like that kind of asshole really well. I just don't see him as the next big thing.
Yeah, my problem with him in that trailer was him like, you gotta ride life or whatever, and he's like got the cowboy hat, just like I'm the tornado rider or something.
Wrangler?
The tornado wrangler? Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Who cares?
And then they're just doing the same thing as before. Container with a bunch of balls in it. So are they going to do the cow again? Tell me, are they going to...
Oh, of course they're going to do the cow again.
Or is it going to be a herd of cows? It was Twister, singular cow, and now it'll be like, there's a cow. There's a lot of cows. And then... that was a weird sound cows make.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's all the debris mixed in with their moves, and it's from a distance. There's a lot of noise, so it's not like you wouldn't get that crisp. You just get.
Got it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it looks dumb. So F.
Yeah, same. Did you watch the Quiet Place Day 1 trailer?
I did. That wasn't a Super Bowl one.
It wasn't. But I'm sure they played it.
Probably by now.
But it came out earlier.
I thought it looked pretty cool.
It looks dope.
Yeah.
I just whatever you do, don't end it the same as the last two. I know sound is the key to killing them, and that's fine. But don't just high-pitched frequency through a microphone, through a speaker, that incapacitates them. They've done it twice now. That's so boring. If they want to start using sonic weapons, they create a gun thing where they could like force them back. I don't know. That's fine. Just don't have another feedback loop from a speaker.
Well, in this one, we have our boy Digimon Housu, who was in A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah.
And they hadn't figured out how that works. This is just him rescuing, was it Lupita Nyong'o? Or am I just...
she wasn't in the second one, was she?
No, but I'm saying...
in this one,
in this one, sorry, right?
Yeah, little P.D. No. Yeah.
And from a trailer standpoint, I think it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But... I'm wondering how much longer this concept can go. And
you got to do a part 4 to end the Emily Blunt story and the kids. They finally kill all of them. They find the master nest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy for A Quiet Place 3 and end that way. But we're going back to day 1, which is fine because I'm always interested to see. Yeah. You watch a post-apocalyptic thing. It's like the world is now like this. It's like, well, how did it get there?
Yeah.
So that's
and we're in a city this time, or at least part of it,
which is just noise central, which could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't need to. I don't want this to be another like Nightmare on Elm Street thing or any other horror franchise where it's just like, well, let's just beat this dead horse for every last penny.
Mm-hmm.
Just like have it be a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go to B.
Yeah. And then we got a full trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Get a little more talking monkey action. See a little more plot detail, more humans.
I like monkeys with crowns.
Yep. Yeah. I like gorillas chasing women through a field. It's my number 3 fantasy of all time. I'm in the gorilla suit.
We can't air this.
I didn't say what I was doing.
I thought you were going to say nightmare because it's so scary to have a gorilla.
See, I've subverted. It's more of the same, and that's a good thing. I love all the Apes movies, and they haven't failed me yet. Yeah. So I have high confidence in this.
New director. I mean, what was the first one? Rise, right? It was Rise, Dawn, and then
War.
War, yeah. So,
but I always get Rise and Dawn backwards
because they should be.
Because it should be Dawn then Rise.
Well, actually, it should be Dawn then War then Rise.
I think for what happens in the movies, yes, the second one should have been called War.
Yeah.
The last one should be Rise. But if we are keeping them for the most part, switching the first two makes more sense because first Dawn happens
Yeah.
and then you wake up.
Mhm.
But that's not the case. It's Rise, Dawn, War.
My only thing with the trailer is it just seemed like, and maybe it was just like my TV or my PlayStation, whatever it was. It just seemed so CGI,
Huh.
which is like obviously it has to be
Yeah.
developed, but like for me, what made the first, well, at least Dawn of Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes, it just looks so like crisp
Yeah.
and real that I forgot that I was watching
Mm-hmm.
CGI characters. Where this one just looked like
I'm gonna blame your
CGI
TV.
city.
It looked a
It
little
might,
rough.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily gonna like ruin the movie for me. But
Yeah, I'm just seeing you with your arms crossed like that's not a real ape. I can tell. I can tell that's not real.
I've seen apes before, and they don't talk like this. Okay,
They have an accent.
but as long as there's some sort of big monkey battle with swords and and spears and stuff and explosions, I'm all for it because I fucking love the apes movies. And even the Mark Wahlberg one, I remember not disliking.
It's fun.
So it's just a fun concept, and I look for it. I just hope it doesn't, go, hey, we're leading towards
No, that's 100%
the new one. Well, I don't understand that's where it's going, but I just don't need like 15 nods. Throughout the movie. You just give me the one at the end where you see the Statue of Liberty, whatever. I'm like, okay, eye roll.
I think it will be. I want to say them looking into the sky and seeing the rocket land, and everyone just going crazy about it. But that would probably make more sense to be the end of the next one.
Whatever, I don't care. But looks fun. B plus.
And then the last trailer, Deadpool and Wolverine, not Deadpool 3. I like.
We forgot about Wicked.
Deadpool 3, aka Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you need to say something about Wicked besides?
No, I mean it's just a musical trailer where they don't show anyone like the fact that it is a musical.
She was singing as she was flying out that window.
But you couldn't tell because she was facing away from the camera. But I saw Wicked on stage, and I had a really good time with Wicked. There's some really good songs in there. So I would see this movie. I don't think it looks horrible, but just not enough to go on C.
Yeah, I think it looks like Oz the Great and Powerful. It just...
Well, it doesn't help that it's in that universe.
Well, I know, but it doesn't look like they've done anything to make it look any different. And I know they want to try to stay true to the originals, and that's probably what Sam Raimi did with his. Try to stay as true so they can all be connected, but it just makes it look boring.
I'm less harsh than you, but anyway, go ahead. So, Deadpool and
Wolverine. Fun little trailer. You know, his trailers are always good. Same humor, same. I mean, we don't have him like showing us his balls yet, but I'm sure we'll get one of them. Maybe a testicle on Wolverine's claw, something like that. But I'm really excited for this, and I know we're kind of sick of multiverse stuff, but like we see Pyro from fucking X-Men 2 in the trailer, and there's someone on like a tanker truck with a big satellite thing. There was someone with a bald head and like pointy ears with a black collar that we see from behind. Like, I don't know who these people are. And the rumors of, say, Elektra or Fantastic Four, like they are going to all be here because he's going to be killing off these universes so we can do them in the MCU. I think is a really fun idea. The fact that the TVA is here is really great.
Basically, the TVA opened it. I was like, oh man, we just got done Loki. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've said on here many times, I've pretty much fallen out of the MCU at this point. But I enjoyed Deadpool 1 and 2. I'm looking forward to a Red Band trailer to see like what more we're kind of get into. Or maybe I'd just rather go in and be surprised. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But the trailer was fun. Kind of surprised by some of the things I saw. But I'm also not shocked by anything I saw, really, because there's just been so many leaks through this movie. But yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Hell yeah.
B minus.
Cool. All right. Well, that was quick and easy. Well, I guess it's my turn. I don't think I'm going to talk about Poor Things. I think I'll wait and see if maybe you get another chance to see it. We still have till the Oscars. Once the Oscars happen, maybe I'll talk about Poor Things.
Okay.
I'll say I liked it a lot.
Okay.
But I'll do another quick one. The new He-Man show on Netflix. It's the second season of the Kevin Smith.
Right.
It was a Retaliation was the first season, and this is Revolution. It's only like 5 episodes. It's real short, and it's great. I loved every minute of it. Like it's insane that you can take something as stupid as He-Man with all their dumb gimmicks and dumb character designs and make it work. I mean, the original show, it was fantasy and technology at the same time, and those always generally clash, but Kevin Smith has found a way to kind of make it work, and he's been able to look back at everything that has happened and use it in a way for a cohesive story, and it's really, really great. It's highly recommended. You didn't watch the first season, right?
I watched the first episode of the first season.
Okay. A lot of people were pissed off there wasn't enough He-Man because he died right at the beginning, and it was all Tila.
I was pretty shocked that he died in the first episode.
Yeah, but he's in it a lot more this time. I thought there was going to be a She-Ra teaser at the end, and there was one toy that I had that I expected to show up, because this is Hardak. He was like one Skeletor was kind of done. They needed to introduce another one, and it was kind of like during the She-Ra era. He was the new big bad, and a lot of my toys I got were in that era. So seeing all those characters, there's like a leech guy that I loved playing in the bathtub because he had like a little squirt head that squirt water and suction cups on his hand, so he could climb on the tile. But I had like a big walking spider that you could put Hardak in. And I'm like, ooh, that fucking thing shows up, I'm gonna shit. Unfortunately, it didn't. But it's a really good show, and I would love to see Kevin Smith's take on something that is like this, like a Star Wars, that has the technology, has the sci-fi or the fantasy stuff in it. Not everything Kevin Smith does is good, but he understands the dorky stuff.
Yeah, he understands nerd culture.
And what's important and how to manipulate it. And I really fucking dug it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching the first episode and going, I think this looks great. I think this world is fun. But I just, by the end of it, I think He-Man was never something...
Yeah,
like I knew...
way past your time.
Yeah, it was way before me. Not way before me, but before me. And I just never got into it. I was always aware of it, but just...
Did you ever see the movie, the Masters of the Universe movie?
Yeah.
Because there's even a nod to that. There's... In that movie, they couldn't do Orko, the little flying wizard guy, because it was going to be too hard of a special effect. So they created a new character called, fuck me, Grim.
They named the character Fuck Me?
Yeah, he
this really is a Kevin Smith.
His name's Gwildor, and he made like the cosmic key that got him to Earth and stuff. And he shows up in the show too. And him and Orko have to work together. Like they just dug the minds of any sort of random reference and put it in this, and it's fantastic.
All right, He-Man Season 2.
He-Man Season 2.
All right. I know everyone's been clamoring for an update. It's been a long time, but I started playing Baldur's Gate 3 again yesterday.
Oh, but this is in your still haven't finished section, isn't it?
So when I stopped, and I didn't stop because I wasn't having a good time. I put in like 95 hours, if not over 100 hours in this game so far, and I've loved pretty much every second of it. But I just put it down because I wanted to play something else and like knock out some smaller games. Spider-Man came out, and it just kind of threw me off. And it's just anyway, I'm back in, baby. And I was just gonna be like, oh yeah, babe, I'm gonna be up to bed. I'm just gonna play for like 30 minutes. 2 hours later, I'm like, I gotta work in like 6 hours.
You can't play a game for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't. Unless you're dicking around in Grand Theft Auto or Spider-Man, you can't actually play a game in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I was, from where I left off, I was basically at the last boss of Act 2. And it's a 3-act game. So I had to, I dicked around for a little bit in the area and like re-assimilated myself, if that's the term I'm looking for. Reassociate myself. Yeah, that's better. To the game and like remember what moves I had and how to do certain things because I forgot all the controls. So anyway, fight the big bad guy, Ketheric Thorm, the general who's going to lead the army against Baldur's Gate. He is a mortal, and he is the chosen, one of the chosen ones of the Dead Three. The Dead Three being the demon god Bane, Bale, and Merkel. Yeah.
You got 2 B names. You can't get a third B name in there.
Yeah, and Merkel is the god of death, and Ketherick Thorm voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess he was the big get for this game. But anyway, he's the one who's sort of like ruled over this shadow lands that's under this curse, and he has been granted immortal life for his obedience to the god of death, Merkel. Anyway, so I fight this guy, and he's very strong, and he's got a bunch of minions coming at me, and but I'm able to take him out easy enough. And I was just like, okay, cool. Can't wait to move on. And then it's like, now phase 2 of the boss. And I was like, I think it's the first time there was ever a second phase to a boss in this game. So like that was kind of surprising. And not only is it's not him I'm fighting again, it's just the god of death. So I defeat him, he falls into a hole, and then out comes this like 2-story tall giant skeleton with a sickle, and every single hit this guy gives me is like, well, there's half my hit points right there. So he's just like, I had to fight him from the beginning, and there's also a long cutscene that I had to keep skipping.
God.
It was so frustrating. I played this fight 5 times before I figured it out. Basically, sacrificed my own team because there was also this angel chick that was there to help me. So the angel chick could do damage to the god of death. And I like just...
Is that like the real way to do it, or just this was the only way
it's
you
the way
could
that
do
worked
it?
for me.
Okay.
Because that was kind of like why she's there, to help my team survive. Because
you're like, no, they will die. It's fine.
Because essentially, all my team was like maxed out. I did as many side quests as I could do in Act 1 and 2. I explored the whole map. I made sure like I got as far in experience as I could. Like, I'm level 9. You only go up to level 12 in the game. So I was like, I can't get any further. I was going on Reddit to see how other people do it. Like, yeah, I'm level 7. I'm getting fucking stomped. So they really turned up the difficulty for the final boss of Act 2. And I just barely won, and I was like, thank God. Oh, and the other thing about this fucking guy, he's got this ability called Bone Chill, which makes it impossible for me to heal. So my healer was useless. You know how important healing is in this game? And I was just like, oh, I'm fucked. And also, because I was in this Ithalid chamber thing, I usually... Don't worry about it.
Big words coming out of Steve's mouth. I don't like it.
It's basically like they're part of the like, it's like a mind flayer colony thing, and the mind flayers follow like elder brains, which are these like giant floating brains, and you find out that giant floating brain is what the absolute is, and the absolute is like the enemy you've been like chasing after this whole time. Anyway, usually like after I get done a fight, if all my people are like low on health, I can just hit a button, go back to camp, rest up, get fully healed, and then I can go back into it. No problem. But because I was in like the sequestered area, I couldn't go back to camp. So like if I was hurt, I was just hurt. There's nothing I could do about it. So I either die or reload or whatever it is. So yeah, it was a big pain in the butt, but I finally beat him. I was like, God damn it, I fucking love this game. And so that's my big update. I'm on to Act 3 now.
Okay.
More updates to follow.
Is Act 3 just as long as the other acts?
I've been told Act 3 is the shortest of the acts.
Okay.
Because Act 1 is like this big, huge map, and there's just like tons of stuff to do. It's really to just kind of like get you used to playing the game and how like choices work and all that kind of stuff. And you get bits and pieces of like the overall story. And then you get into Act 2, and that's when like the story really kicks off. And it's still a decent sized map, but that's like where there's still a ton of stuff to do. And that's where the real meat of the story is and all that good stuff. And I think Act 3 is just kind of like, well, we're going to wrap this up, and you're just in this like city. Okay. But I don't know because I haven't played any of Act 3 yet, but I'm there.
Cool.
Woo, that was a lot. I thought you would enjoy the idea of Bane, Bale, and then Merkel. Merkel sounds like the nerdy kid in like a 90s sitcom. It's like,
Millhouse over here.
Alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Minkus and Steve Urkel put together.
All right. Well, I watched a show that you'll probably be happy that I watched. I watched the first season of The Bear.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
And you hated it.
No, I didn't hate it. But can we calm down a little bit on this show?
Like season 2 is better.
And I've heard that from a lot of people, but okay, I like the characters for the most part.
Okay.
But some of them, like the bakery dude, like fuck that guy. That guy sucks. He's like totally blowing off his job so he can try to like live his dream doing another thing. You're on someone else's fucking dime, man. Knock your shit off and get those fucking cakes. And then he blew the breaker because of all that. that guy, he's not winning me over at all.
If you owned a major company, you would be just like Bezos and all these other guys.
No,
Like,
no, like,
you're on my dime, sir. And while I'm working, you're working.
With how they present how much fucking business they do, they need to be on
I'm
it.
just giving you a hard
And
time.
the fact that like they have to do this French style kitchen in order to make things run smoothly, he needs to get off his ass and stop doing that shit. If he wants to come in early, stay late, whatever, that's fine. But like, anyhow. Also, like the high pressure situation, it almost makes me laugh that like this is the ER and they're saving people's lives and like you're making fucking sandwiches. Calm down. And they say they make sandwiches, but everything that they're prepping, it seems like it's fine dining. You don't ever like see the sandwiches really. And the main dude, you see him cook something once. He's supposed to be amazing at being a chef, and he cooks one thing. Yeah, he's always working in the kitchen, but you never see him just like taking the love and preparing anything. He shows them how to do one thing. One person tries it. They say, oh, it's so good. And that's it. Like, I need to truly believe that he is so good and not just hear it from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I like Oliver Platt's character.
Yeah.
I like that birthday party is a really good scene. And like I saw that he was going to knock out the kids, from a mile away. I didn't think he was going to put the whole fucking bottle in there.
I think I remember watching that and going like, "Holy shit!" Like I thought he like killed these kids.
Killed him, and then Oliver Platt's just like, I like this.
As long as they're quiet.
I like the main dude. I don't remember anyone's names.
Carmi is the main guy. Marcus is
Carmi,
the donut guy. Richie is the
cousin.
The cousin. Sydney is the new chef on the block.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember.
And then there's a Hispanic woman as well. And then an older black guy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to guess.
But Carmi's sister's husband, who was on Love, right? Yeah. He just plays a big dingus so well. And I feel bad for him because I can see myself. I would be that guy.
Yeah.
If just marrying into some weird ass family and just being completely out of the loop. But I really enjoy him. But I wouldn't recommend the show to anybody. It was like good enough, but it's not that great.
And you never worked in the kitchen though, right?
I worked at Subway. I prep food. I know what food prep is, and they change over and stuff.
I would love to see you direct it, like be in an episode of The Bear, but it's set in a Subway, and you like mashing lettuce and pickles onto a $5 footlong.
Yep.
We need to fire 12 Italian subs right now.
And all the like Yes Chef stuff and hands, and it gets so old, so old. And then them calling each other cousin all the time. Who the fuck does that? They sound like they're in incest porn. Hey, big bro. Nobody, like, do you call your sisters, hey, sis, hey, big sis? No, nobody does that. Hey, little brother. That's a porno thing. Nobody calls each other cousins. It's gross.
I don't think you know how siblings work.
I know how step siblings work.
Jesus Christ.
No, I just, like... If this was a drinking game, drink every time they say cousin or chef, like you would be smashed. It's a lot.
The first season, the cousin stuff and the Yes Chef, I was just like, fuck this place. Like I don't want to like say Yes Chef all the time. And like it was one thing if it's like your head chef, you go Yes Chef. That's like your general.
But they say to everyone. But
the dishwashers get it too.
Yeah,
and that's no disrespect to dishwashers. Just like hey dish, hey. Desserts, like what you can, everyone can have their own specific name, and it's it doesn't like create a hierarchy or whatever per se. But I have worked in restaurants. I've seen chefs, and it's not necessarily this level of intense, but the show is designed to be.
Sure.
And this is also a low functioning. The store doesn't function properly, so it's one guy trying to get everyone to function properly. So that's what raises stakes. Where like other places I work, there's at least a baseline sense of like how things operate. But I've seen angry chefs, and that's never fun. And I've done the like hands, and it's to like grab stuff, not necessarily like behind. but I also didn't work in like fine dining areas. I currently work at a grocery store that has a head chef, but none of us call him chef. We call him by his first name. And day one, I was like, "Do we do that here?" Like, because I watched the Bear. Like, do you want to be called chef? And he's like, "I don't care about that."
I would absolutely not. Especially if like, oh, I'm a cashier and you want me to call you chef, fuck off. No way.
No. That's not.
Okay.
It would just be like the people who work in
Okay.
in the department.
I
It's not
guess,
if you don't
maybe.
report to him, and then it doesn't matter. But everyone just calls everybody their first name because I'm sure it's like we want to be a family here or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anyway. But there is some truths to this.
Sure.
To
No,
this
I
world.
totally believe it.
And
But I want to see the food. I want to see how good it is and why people come to this place. But
the food isn't the important part in a weird way, though.
which is really kind of annoying.
It's about the characters and their relationships.
But they're running this place.
Sure.
Sell it to me.
Yeah. But like, you don't even get a lot of customer interaction because
No.
the customers aren't.
And that's another thing that pissed me off. They're like, we're not going to do takeout. They have like 10 chairs for people to sit. You're this high volume for just a couple of tables if you're not doing takeout. So I mean, like every plate, they're sitting there and eating it, and you are running these people ragged. I don't buy it. And then when they get the thing and the pre-order was put on and all these tickets are coming out, how are we going to do this? You go in and you cancel all of them and you say, oopsie, it didn't work. And you refund their money. Let's start again tomorrow. Don't make 70 fucking things when you're 5 minutes from opening and they're about to show up. It's like the drama of it is heightened to a point of like absurdity. And I just found I didn't get like stressed out by how stressed they are. I was getting annoyed at how everybody was handling this whole situation. So
yeah, because they're all unprofessional.
Okay, that's fine. But it didn't make me go, let's start season 2 automatically. I was like, I'm going to wait on this. I'm going to watch something else.
Were you impressed at all? Specifically that episode, because that's the big episode of the season. Yeah. We got 77 orders of chicken sandwiches or whatever the fuck. The one-takedness of it, I mean, obviously we've seen that stuff before, but like...
It didn't stand out.
Wow, okay.
Didn't stand out.
I don't understand you, Ben. I can never pin you down, you know?
Don't overhype stuff.
I tried not to.
And this is, I would not call it a bad show, but after everything everybody has said, I don't see why everyone has glommed onto it. Mm. And we're getting a season 3 this year.
Yeah,
they're cranking them out, but I guess when you're just filming in a small area.
Yeah, like no CGI.
Yeah.
Mostly one set, and your episodes are 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
You can crank out a 8-10 episodes, whatever it is, in a couple weeks. So, which is like great.
Yeah, it's better than like when you were watching Atlanta and it's like, Jesus Christ, when's another season gonna happen?
Or you're watching Game of Thrones and it's 2 years later, or
at least Game of Thrones came back every year, pretty much.
Well, I mean, it's just at the end and breaking up the seasons and stuff.
Oh, like sure.
And there are Last of Us is going to be 2 years. You're not going to see that till 2025.
Fucking actor strike or writer strike.
Just
bastards.
Stuff. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah, I'll get to season 2 whenever. Oh, shout out to Joe McHale playing a piece of shit like always. He does it better than anybody else.
Yeah, very few as good as Joel McHale being an asshole. Yeah, I mean, once again, I'll say that season 2, it's all my complaints about season 1 were fixed in season 2 in terms of just like it is kind of an anxiety-inducing show for a lot of people, and there isn't like for a comedy. This isn't a comedy, but we're not going to get into that argument. But there's so much where you're just like, Jesus fuck, like this is not fun. Where season 2 is a lot more pleasant. There's a lot more happiness going on. There's quite a bit more jokes, and there's a lot of to me more when the emotional stuff hits. You're just like, damn, that's good quality writing.
And I didn't know John Barenthal was the older brother.
Yeah. And I just think season 2 just does everything better in every single way. But also, season 2 is a piece of shit, and you'll fucking hate it, and you'll never like anything about it. And honestly, you should stop. But I guess if you just want to finish it, go for it, because I think you'll hate every second of it. But go ahead.
Well, your turn.
So the last thing that you and I, before I get to the stuff I have completed, I got one last thing that we're partway through, and I know you've seen it. You and I have watched 4 episodes of True Detective,
Night Country.
Night Country.
Don't like that title.
Yeah, especially since you didn't get that until the very end of episode 4.
Yeah.
We're all in the Night Country now. It's like, what the fuck does that mean?
It's just like with John Wick, like 1, 2, Parabellum, 4. Like, don't do that. Just call it True Detective. Anyhow.
Yeah, because
they
were just True Detective.
Just True Detective.
Yeah, they didn't have any.
I don't think so.
Season. Oh, I guess it was like season 1, but it's not like
they didn't put a number on there.
Yeah,
True Detective 3.
Yeah. They're not Stranger Thingsing it.
No.
Anyway, what do you think about this season, Ben?
I'm really enjoying it. It's sad that it's only 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll touch on that a little bit later. I really like Jodie Foster in this. She's awful. She's such a bad person. She's mean. She's abusive. She's just a total...
How she treats Pryor drives me up a fucking wall. And I just feel bad because, like, I know there's a good chance, like, if I was a cop, I'd be that kid.
Yeah.
Just want to do good and, like, want to make a difference, but, like, kind of shitting on whatever I got going on to make my boss happy. I could see it.
Yeah.
And just seeing Danvers just abuse that poor boy.
Yeah. And it's like Christmas Eve or something, and like
he's already stayed late. He's on his way home to go to his wife and kid, and she's like, "Hey, by the way,
go do this
other things."
Yeah. One of the things that I don't like is the fact that it is nighttime. It's a fun setting.
Yeah.
But you don't know what time of day it is, and that's probably all part of it to keep you confused.
Sure. It's the night country, Ben.
But you don't know, like, are they just getting to work? Is it 2 a.m. and they're working past their shift? You have no idea. It just feels like everybody's awake at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure it's part of, like, you want to be disoriented. You never want to know what time it is, because I think if, as an audience, if you know it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, well, probably nothing weird or scary is going to go down now. Yeah. But if you always assume that it's midnight, then it's like, oh, this is the scary time or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think I think you could do it really well where you always just have one quick shot of a timer on an oven or a clock in the precinct, or you see someone's phone flip open, or did they have flip phones? You see someone scroll on their phone and
it's not that long in the past.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I was just saying as an example, it was like, wait, people don't have flip phones.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Or they're just scrolling on their phone and you see what time, like, you could always know what time it is if you do it
you
right.
want to catch the noon show at the movie theater? Little things like that, like, oh, it's noon, you want to get some lunch? Cool. Yeah. But it's just, you're in a constant state of limbo.
3:30, school's getting out.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think you could do it successfully, and that might reacquaint the audience to that, and just so you can, like, they can follow along. But at the same time, the time of day isn't entirely important to the story.
No, but it just feels a little like day 7. Like, really? It feels like it's been a month. Because you can cut at any time, and it could be a 3-day gap.
Yeah. Would you live in an area that for...
I'd like
30
to try
days
it.
of night?
I'd like to try it, see how
I'm sure it's not really that jarring.
Especially, I sleep with blackout curtains,
yeah.
And I work second shift, so I sleep until about noon every day, so that's not a big deal to me. I could probably adjust.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you.
Okay.
Is it going to be supernatural? Or is it all a red herring? It feels like a red herring.
Well, it'd be weird. One, it'd be weird to be supernatural considering the first 3 weren't. Like, the first 3 kind of touched on weird things. Like, you had Rust's like visions that he had, but that was just kind of explained with, like, well, drug use. Even though, because you and I, when we talked about it, was just, oh, what weird supernatural they're going to get.
Open up a portal to hell.
The cult's going to they're going to figure something out. And it just turns out, nope, it was just pedophiles.
Yeah.
And then season 2, there was, like,
he, like, goes walking off in the desert, like, in a trance.
I don't even remember if there was, like, other supernatural stuff.
I don't think so.
That. I think it might have just been the only scene. And then season 3, you had him kind of, like, losing his mind from Alzheimer's or whatever. So you're getting, like, weird stuff with that. Yeah. But once again, that's, like, explained in universe.
And this one's, like, super scary, ultra crazy, weird stuff going on.
Yeah. I think that it's going to do the... Haunting in Venice thing where it's like, well, we explained everything, but there is something that's like, it could still be supernatural. And
That
you're just
old
gonna be like,
woman does see dead people. That would be a thing. Like she does see that, but you can't prove it. Any of the other characters can't prove it. So it'll be like, well, that's a supernatural thing. But what's causing them to do this? They were digging in the ice and they dug up a bacteria and it made them all go crazy.
yeah.
You know.
Well, they talked about like, is it the mine who's poisoning the
Mm-hmm.
water and everyone's drinking, so they're hallucinating? Is it just a cultural thing? Is it Russ Cole's mom going like, I think this area just happens to be the where the crack in between our world and theirs is
Mm-hmm.
like the widest, so everyone sees ghosts around here.
Yeah.
Or is it just like when you're so alone and it's dark all the time and you're just looking for anything, you're gonna see something? Is it all just tricks of the mind?
Mm-hmm.
Is it her sister's schizophrenia where she's seeing like dead spirits, or is it just actually a family? Is it a family curse, or is it
Yeah.
just in her mind?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just gonna be one of those things where they don't want to tell you it's not supernatural, but it's not.
Yeah.
Uh,
But after the show will be done, they're like, oh, it was a virus or whatever madness, whatever it was. But you would still think, well, why did all the power go out at the same time? Why is Ferris Bueller's Day Off playing in a loop? You know, little things like that.
some things just can't be explained and it will never be
Yeah.
explained. But it could be science,
Yeah.
or it could be ghosts.
When they came across like I've been calling it the Rat King, the scientist Rat King, where they're all just like frozen in the ice
Yeah.
together. Like really gross. And then they snap that fucking dude's arm off and he wakes up.
I couldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah.
That shit was jarring.
Yeah.
One of the scariest things I've seen ever. Not that it like necessarily made me jump, but I'm sure my mouth, like my jaw
Yeah.
dropped because I was like, how?
Because I thought that was going to be a comedic moment of just like, Barney, you ripped his arm off. And that would be the end of Open. And then just.
Yeah, it was like the scene from Seven with the guy in the bed.
Yes.
Just, I couldn't believe it's like a human being survived that. And like my skepticism was just saying, there's no way a human being could survive. Like everyone else froze and died, and you just happened to be like the top head, and you were so frozen that your arm could snap off,
but your organs are still going,
functioning. I couldn't imagine
But did he die? I know he went to the hospital. They cut off all of his arms. He's blind, and he sat up doing a big old spooky
in episode 2 or 3. Like, they visited him at the hospital,
and then he did pass.
And then he passed as she was standing there, and he said like his like I see you, Navarro, or whatever the fuck he said. I don't remember. But creepy, spooky moment where he like sits up in the bed. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun that they're doing kind of a horror element, even though all the horror stuff they're doing is like stuff I've seen a million times. Sure. I'm interested in the case and wondering how these things are connected. I don't like that we're 4 episodes in. I really don't feel like we're any closer to the truth. And we keep bringing up the mine, but we haven't even fucking gone to the mine.
I think we're gonna get a lot in the next one, because on the next episode of True Detective, they're like, it's done, the case is closed, we're finished with this. Like, shit, they're really gonna run through some stuff.
I think of all the networks, HBO is always kind of like the penultimate episode is the best episode.
Because I want to see the investigation with, they picked up the bodies from the rink and they're going to do like true autopsies. I want to spend time with those people and what their thoughts on it. And then Jodie Foster has to work with them, and they're like, get this cunt out of here. She just slept with everybody in the town on her way down. I needed to go to 8. This 6 episodes is just way too short.
Yeah.
Everything is too short now. There's a show I'm going to talk about probably next. It's only 7 episodes. It was always 24 episodes were a season. Most of the time, half-hour sitcoms and stuff, that's fine. And then things would go to like 20. Then it was like 16. Then it went down to 10. And 10 kind of seemed like that's it. Netflix kind of solidified that. 10 episodes is what you do. But like Apple, and everything they do is like 8.
Number.
It is. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And now some people say with the like Daredevil and Punisher, oh, this is taking too long. Let's shorten it. And I can understand that. But with the economy and how everything is getting smaller and more expensive, like even our fucking TV shows, like, oh, hey, you want some new True Detective? Well, you're only getting 6, but it still costs the same. And I don't like this world that we're living in.
Neither do I. but there's so much good TV. So do you have, before we move on, well, one, do you like Navarro? You said you don't like Danvers. Okay.
It's because I don't like her sister. I don't really love that part of the story. It makes sense for it kind of needs to be there, but they kind of rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, I kind of like,
and her piercings are ugly.
Yeah, that's the one thing that drives me crazy.
I hate those fucking piercings.
More power to like everyone. You can do whatever you want. Like this is not like women should be this, but I just think cheek piercings are the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen.
I'm not a big fan of any piercings, really. I think it makes most women look worse. Obviously, they're not doing it for my benefit and yada, yada, yada. I get that. But my preference is like no metal in your face.
Yeah. But anyway, I like her. I've never seen her in anything before, I don't think. I think this could be a cool breakout role for her.
Yeah.
And, more power to her. I kind of, and I don't know if it would just be too cliche if she was just like she was more into the spiritual world realm, and because it's the classic content. It's the old cop and the rookie cop. It's the by the book cop and the rebel street cop.
Yeah.
And then we have this one is like, I'm a woman of science and I'm a woman of faith, and like how do they not only work together but use both their skills in both those worlds to team up and solve the case, where they're both kind of like, no, we're both people of science. It's just this one also sees ghosts or like has a family curse that may or may not exist. And it's just, but like, doesn't ever seem like she's really leaning into that until the latest episode, because like the curse is finally caught up with her or whatever. It's like, I forgot there was a family curse, because it just kind of was like briefly mentioned, I guess, or it's just like, yeah, I got my mom, and then my sister seems to think she has it, but she's just crazy. It's like, oh, maybe this curse is real. And I just like, at this point, it's like, just what happened to fucking Annie Kotak or whatever? And how does it connect to Salal Station? And what does that have anything to do with the mine? The mine is connected to Tuttle, which is the child pedophile group from season 1. Is Matthew McConaughey going to show up in the final episode? Who fucking cares? It's just, I think this season's going to end, and we're going to go, that was pretty good. Yeah. And then no one's ever really going to talk about this True Detective.
Everyone will just remember that first season.
Remember that first
season. That. And I bet if you went back and rewatch it, it would be really good, but there would be just a few key scenes of, that one take of him taking out guys in those apartments or something like,
so you're like that one take, but you don't like the one take of the bear? You fucking
I didn't even notice the one in the bear.
That's how fucking good it is.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, because I usually do notice one takes pretty easily.
Anyway.
Now, and we still haven't even covered, like, Jodie Foster's son and husband. I'm assuming they both died, but we don't know how, right?
Yeah, I don't even... Yeah.
Because it's like that's her stepdaughter, and has said, like, my dad wouldn't care if you let me go. So she was with a dude who already had a daughter, and they had a son. Yeah, we see in flashbacks with her with a little kid, but we still don't even know that information. There's still stuff to go.
Yeah, I could totally see I could see the season being 10 episodes and it'd be worth it, but I could say that, and then by the 10th episode, man, I was ready for the season to be over by episode 8. Or or episode 7.
Because you can't please any of us.
I can't, we're too picky. All right, so that is True Detective. Do you want me to go again?
Yeah.
All right.
I got one.
I have my 3 things.
I have 1, 2, 3.
All right, well, this one will probably be pretty simple. I listened to an album, and that album is something that you listen to, whether you realize it or not. Penith.
It finally came out.
The Dave Bird, Lil Dicky album.
Nice.
His second album. But the thing is, it's all just songs from his show. So there's no surprises on this album.
Not even
really.
One that was not on the show?
I mean, a lot of the tracks have verses and stuff that weren't in the show, because you only maybe got like a minute of a 2-minute song. So like they're all kind of extra. But if I remember correctly, there isn't any new, like nothing you haven't heard. Mostly just like extended cuts of other songs.
What's the first on the track list?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it started off with like fucking Jail or something.
It has Jail on there. It has stuff from season 1 and season 2, mostly season 2. And it's all songs like for the most part, I've enjoyed and like have some funny verses. Like you and I have said on this podcast, we enjoy Dave, even though it's very cringe-inducing and I fucking hate it. But this album was kind of a disappointment for me because like I liked it in context of the show, and then in terms of like listening to it, it just makes me think of the show. Where I would much rather have like these are songs I made for the show and they're funny and they work for me. Like it could be a side thing, like release the soundtrack, but that's just a soundtrack. Like give me a Lil Dicky album that's all brand new stuff. Because this is basically like, oh, I had my first album in 2015. I haven't had a second album since. And then I released the second album, and it's all shit you guys have already heard.
And we were talking about, we thought it was going to be released after season 2 or season 1. And if it did release in season 1 and it had these songs on it, and we're waiting in the show, when is this song going to show up? I think that would be fine. But to have 3 seasons only to release, it just seems like the Dave the soundtrack instead of Lil Dicky. Volume 2, whatever.
So that was my big bummer. Although his new music video for Ha Ha Ha, do you remember what that song? Ha Ha Ha, that's a joke. Do you remember that from when he was... Okay, anyway. It's a pretty fun music video. He's kind of like taking inspiration from The Dark Knight. He's like dressed up like a clown. Okay. He's running through the streets and he's, doing that thing where he's like hanging off the top of the limo, but then he's also got like a clown girl like twerking on him as he's like it's like, but it's dumb and fun and very classic Lil Dicky. So I like this album. It's fun, but it is just the Dave soundtrack, and I'm a little disappointed. I wanted some just a whole new album.
Yeah. I'll do a short one too. I saw another last week's new release, Argylle.
Oof, sorry.
It's not good.
Shocker.
But I had fun watching it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't hate it. It's just when you sit back and reflect on it and like, oh, yeah, that wasn't very good. And yeah, that's a lot like this. And oh, yeah, that was really cringy too. Ooh, I don't think this movie's very good. But I think they are both charismatic enough that they carry the movie. You do wish...
Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard?
Exactly.
Okay.
You do wish there was more of...
Henry Cavill?
Yes. And John Cena and stuff. Like, that's all, like, in-book stuff.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Yeah, like...
There's something there that just didn't quite achieve
yeah, it's like, maybe if this scene was... Like, there's a ice skating scene where it's, like, just oil on this floor, and she just attaches knives to her feet and starts ice skating on it, killing a bunch of dudes.
Okay.
It's real stupid. It reminded me a lot of Kingsman 2, and apparently this may even be in the same universe as Kingsman.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know, they seem to have a bunch of movie ideas for sequels, but I don't think that's happening. Yeah, it reminds me of Kingsman 2 just because that one is a little over the top and a little dumb.
I mean, both Kingsman 1... Kingsman was a little bit over the top, but I loved Kingsman 1. And Kingsman 2, I still liked, but definitely
But Kingsman 2 had, like, robot dogs and laser lassos and meat grinders and...
doing action and stuff,
yeah. So it reminded me a lot of that. And it's just twist after twist after twist. The first twist I did not see coming. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, that's cool. But then there's another one, and another, and another. And by the time you get to like the fourth twist, you know exactly how it's going to play out. So all in all, not a very good movie. But I had a smile while I was watching it. You know?
It's a shame. Sam Rockwell did one of those things where they go over his career and talk about all the movies, and it's just like, I think Sam Rockwell is one of the 5 greatest actors of all time. I fucking love Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
And
he was so when George Bush.
And then when he's in like pieces of shit, it just makes me real sad. And it's like every actor make pieces of shit. Like no big deal. Everyone can't be your favorite actor Barry Keoghan and just be like crushing it every film. But yeah, I want good things for him because Sam Rockwell just seems like a cool dude, and I like him as an actor.
They didn't bring up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in that interview. I know he only has a small role in it. But that's like...
one line, basically.
But no, he has a couple lines. He's the main thug. I'm just surprised they didn't bring it up because it was kind of like a meme a couple years ago. Like, oh, did you know this is Sam Rockwell's one of his first appearances? And I thought they would. Like, they brought up Confessions of a Dangerous Mind and Seven
Moon?
Psychopaths.
No one watched Moon. You know who watched Moon, Seven Psychopaths, and Confessions of the Day Remind? Me and you.
Yeah.
That's it.
I own those movies. Oh, maybe not Seven Psychopaths, but I own the other two. But yeah, he's good, and I like Bryce Dallas Howard, but they do like the special effects in this movie. Like there's a CG cat, like that jumps out and starts clawing someone's face, and it looks real bad. Or like there's slow mo.
They just took the animation from Spider-Man game where like Spider Cat jumps out the backpack, and you know.
I was just like,
He looked so confused as I was talking.
I thought I was thinking of the movies and stuff. Like, is there a cat in those movies? Yeah. Or the cat's like falling off a building and it's slowly twisting in air and it looks really bad. There's a scene that's reminiscent of in the first Kingsman when, you know, he's killing all those people. It's kind of like him killing all the people in the church and then everyone's heads exploding at the end. And it kind of reminds me of the Harley Quinn movie where she comes into the police station and she's shooting smoke and it's all brightly colored. They do have a scene like that, and the effects are real rough on that one. But, you know, it's fine. If it was a Netflix movie, you would have been like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. Better than like Red Notice or something like that. Yeah, but I don't really have much to say, anything else to say about it. It was probably fine that we didn't do it for an episode.
Because I already have to see what I assume is going to be
we'll talk about
the biggest piece of shit next week. But
we'll talk about it at the end.
There's a teaser for next week. If you guys want to listen to us talk about one of the worst things I'll see this year.
Hey, One Love may be good. All right, so what do you got?
All right, so do you want the TV show you and I have both seen, or do you want a book that I read?
No, you're going to do the book. I'm going to do my last thing, and then we'll talk about that final thing.
Cool. All right. So I...
Oh, no, I have a thing after that. Shit.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever. Okay, so I read a book. I read the first book in a trilogy of the Poppy War trilogy, I think is what it's called. And the first book is called The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And it is a fantasy novel. It is essentially Avatar, The Last Airbender meets Game of Thrones. Because it's basically an Asian-inspired world where a young girl gets to go to this, who's like from the streets, essentially, very poor. She studies very hard and gets into this prestigious like school where she'll train to like become a high-ranking military official or whatever to protect her country, and it's just like the best shot she has of like getting out of her shitty life. And there's in this world there's talks about like, oh well, this people was genocide, and you know women are used as like sex slaves, and if basically it's just like you become a wife or you become a sex slave. Like that's your only options for women in this world most of the time, unless you get into like this school and you know get in a position of power. And lots of people do drugs. So then the avatarness of it is certain people can take drugs and reach the higher plane and meet the gods of this world. There's like 64 gods, and basically, if you by using these drugs, you can basically convince gods to like give you their power. So basically, there's certain people who have superpowers, but there's like next to none of them because most humans think that they're a liability, so they kind of like don't want them. They're called shamans. So most people are just like, if they find out you're a shaman, they'll just like fucking kill you. But anyway, I thought this book was going to be like a kind of fun story of a girl who like tries to overthrow a government, kind of Katniss Everdeen-ness or whatever, in that sense. And that's kind of what the first half is. And she discovers like she can access this, you know, power, and she has flame powers. And she has like this wise mentor who kind of like, I'll show you the ways so you don't like abuse this power and kill everyone in this school. And then the next half is like an invading country comes in to like decimate their country, and there's a chapter in this book that is the most horrendous thing I have ever read.
Wow.
It is so graphic and so awful and so like I couldn't believe the shit I was reading because it kind of sets it up in like the beginning of this book kind of feels like a young adult book because it is like teenagers training at a school and there's like the rival character who knows going to be a romantic interest and like the last remaining he's a Spearly he's the one of the people
Spearly?
yeah he's from a country called Spear that basically they were all genocide there was a big genocide everyone died he's like the last one
Okay.
and he's just like better than everybody at everything pretty much and he has powers
Okay.
and
Don't name though. Spearly? That's not a good word.
whatever but anyway so but yeah, and then the war starts, and then the rest of that next half of the book is just like the atrocities of war and what another country who like don't view you as human will do to people. Because it's like, oh, if you're not human, then it's just me squishing up or like pulling a bug in half. You know, like it won't give you nightmares. But the stuff that I read then is nightmare fuel. I couldn't believe what it was written.
Wow.
And then you go to the back of the book, and the author, she's like, yeah, I did research into like she listed like it was like at this war and this massacre, all the shit that she writes, all this stuff like happened to other human beings, and I couldn't
Give me an example.
So do you want do you want like some tiny examples or do you want like the worst one?
Give me the worst one.
Okay, so at one point, this spoilers for the book in case any of this sounded so exciting, you were like, "Oh, I can't wait to find out what this is." So they get to this place that was decimated by the warring country, and the worst, she runs into an old friend who was like kind of stationed in this city that was attacked, and she was one of the very few survivors. Like the city that had like 500,000 people, like 1,000 people survived. Like everyone else was dead, and she was just like. Yeah, because of a woman, they didn't kill me right. They didn't kill me right away. Basically, the whole army just like raped me over and over and over again, and I would fight them, and I would pass out, and then I would wake up. A different man was inside me, just like raw dogging me for hours. Just me and a bunch of other girls, and just getting raped all over and over and over again. And so the one woman they didn't rape was a pregnant woman who they like. She was kind of like our mother character who was just like handing out washcloths and like kind of taking care of us in between breaks who would like bring us food. And then the general came and when he realized he was like tired of raping all of us, he decided he would rape her. So he raped this pregnant woman and then it was just like and she was like 8 months pregnant. And then while she was pregnant, he just like ripped the baby out and not with a sword or anything. He used his fingernails to claw this woman's stomach open and pull out the baby. And that was like she could have given birth any day, and then the book was just like, and then in front of her, like the mother thankfully died before the guy just broke this baby and ripped it in half.
Jesus.
And then made the girl that he made the girl that was like describing the story. She had to clean up the fetus body and not fetus. It was a pretty much full grown baby at this point, but it was just I couldn't believe the shit I was reading.
Damn.
And it talked about like drowning babies in barrels and like burying people waist deep in the dirt and then having dogs eat the top half. So all you just saw was like rib cages connected to like the legs and shit, and just other stuff that I've now forgotten. But
that sounds brutal.
Yeah, it was horrible. And as I'm reading this, like, this is fucked up. I bet this happened. And then it did.
Yeah. The things that some people in this world that have had to go through.
Yeah.
Someone's been run over by a steamroller. Someone went through that. Someone has been eaten by an anaconda. Someone had to experience that. And that, like, you could only be so lucky to just get a bullet in the head, you know?
I mean, and those are just like the more like shocking examples. We're talking like heads on spikes and people probably crucified. They're just like basically any sort of the amount of ways that they got creative to kill people was shocking. Yeah, I couldn't believe what I read, and I was like, this.
Chris.
It was a tough read, but
good book. All in all,
yeah, I really.
Are you going to continue?
Yeah, I'm reading book 2 right now.
Okay.
It's good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens with the world. Oh, the one thing I didn't mention is the people that are shamans. Another reason that there's not too many of them is because they can only have their power for so long before they kind of go mad, because it's kind of like you're being possessed by a god, and they're constantly telling you to do their bidding, and you can only like kind of fight that off for so long, and so they kind of like uh, govern themselves in terms of, all right, I'm getting too crazy. The other shamans who aren't as crazy as I am, they'll put me in this basically shaman prison where I'll be locked up forever. So you only kind of get, once you get your powers, you're kind of on
a ticking clock.
You're on a ticking clock before it's just kind of, all right, well now we got to put you in magic jail before you have the power to like decimate the world.
Now, when you get a power from a god, can that god give more power to someone else, or is it always like a 1-to-1? I'm possessing you, and then when you're dead, I now can give it to someone else. Have they mentioned that at all?
So yeah, I'm not 100% sure as to the logistics of that, but I believe gods can give it to multiple people. I think like the group of shamans who are together, they all have like one different god, and it doesn't seem like have deals with those gods have deals with other people. But she and the like dude who's good at everything character, they may or may not be from the same country who worship the same god, so that god has given them both its powers.
Okay.
They have the same power. So it seems like depending on who you worship, it does give out powers as it sees fit.
Okay.
But so far, other than those two, every other character we've run into has had a different power than them. But yeah, there's one guy who has the monkey god, and so he is like he's much bigger than everybody and has kind of gorilla arms. There's one guy who is just made of water.
Okay.
He kind of just like hangs out in a barrel. That's his thing. But he can like change the tide on rivers, and like they're in a ship at one point, and he can like push the ship along faster because he's just kind of like under the boat. There's one chick who can like talk to birds and like is really good with bows and arrows and stuff. Like they all have like kind of unique, cool abilities that help them like either be good at being a spy. Like one guy can turn into a fox. He's their spy. There's the one chick, she's a sniper because she's good with the arrows. There's one guy who like, I won't spoil it for anybody, for anyone who's interested, but it's pretty cool and really cool idea. And in the fantasy genre, you're seeing it more now because the fantasy genre in terms of books is like really booming. Before it was all elves and dwarves and sort of European style stuff. We're getting some really cool Asian style fantasy, and so this is a good one if you want sort of that young adult feel, but very much not a young adult. It's an adult book with the coding of young adult style.
Cool. I also read a book.
Tell me about it, Ben. I know you've been itching to. What is it? Surprise me.
So, it's Ready Player 2.
Oh,
After you talked about Ready Player 1, I was just curious to see if the Libby app had it. It did, but it was like, you're number 36 in line.
Really? Mine was like, it's available immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no one was reading Ready Player 2.
And so I was like, okay, let's put it on the list. And I could always just instantly return it if I don't want to. But it popped up. I had no like podcasts I needed to catch up on. And fuck it. Let's do it. So
you didn't, let's reiterate, I liked the book.
No, I read the book twice. I enjoyed the book, but we're
talking about Ready Player 1.
Yes, but I see the flaws.
Sure.
I see why people don't like it. It is just fan service.
And you didn't like the movie. I like the movie
and
more.
I hate the movie.
But you read the book, then watched the movie. I watched the movie and then read the book.
Yeah. So I was interested to where does this go? Like, where do you take this story after it's all done? So let's try to get through this quickly.
Just give me, the 30 seconds.
I'm going to need more than 30 seconds.
60 seconds. Tell me.
So pretty much, the world's great. Sorrento's in jail. They pretty much bought IOI. They have the market on everything. They've made things cheaper. They've given away so much of their money to help people, but Artemis is still like pushing back on a lot of things. She thinks
it takes over too many people's lives. They live in the oasis, and they need to be able to get out once in a while.
Because in the first book, or at least in the movie, like Tuesdays and Fridays or whatever.
But I don't think that happened in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and they've broken up. You know, they couldn't resolve some of these kind of business issues, and things went sour between them. He kept his promise. He built his space station, or his superpowered starship.
Okay.
That's just floating above Earth. Not ready to go on it yet, but he will. And then he gets a thing from was it Halliday, saying, "Hey, this is something I created completely in secret. Nobody knows anything about this, but this is like the new version of their
the Oasis.
Well, no, it's still their Oasis.
Their VR set.
Their headset. This actually like maps your brain, and you could wear this, and you can go surfing in real life. Then I can wear it, and I can experience it, what you did, through your eyes. But I would feel things. I would smell the salt. I would taste the water. It would feel like I'm actually surfing. So now you could have all these experiences that you never did, and it helps people, like they want to try heroin for their. Wade even does this. Like, I wanted to know the drug that killed my mom, so I did heroin in this thing. Oh, what do they call it? The Mio, the Dio, the Eon. Oh fuck, I can't even remember. Doesn't matter. But so it's like, yeah, you can put this thing on and feel what it's like to actually do heroin. But when you take it off, you don't get the withdrawal or anything, any of those side effects. That's completely gone. People are using it to have sex with like celebrities and stuff, and you could, pay people, or like you could pay to experience this. Some people upload their experiences for free, and but you can only have the headset on for 12 hours. Otherwise, your brain starts turning into mush, and you need to take a break. So Artemis doesn't want it. She says, like, we need to destroy this. Do not let the world see it. And everybody else is like, fuck you. Not only, can I do whatever, now I can feel everything. And so they release it. Huge success. The whole world's using it, but like once like 70% of the population had used it, or it's mapped like 70% of all the brains, Halliday showed back up. But it's not like the original Halliday. He's a Anorak. He's the digital avatar. He has all of Halliday's memories and everything from this machine in it. And he's like, I want to be free. Rah! Because Halliday also deleted some stuff, so he's kind of gone crazy. And there is a new Easter egg hunt.
Oh my god, I hate
So now,
this.
instead of 3 keys and 3 gates, it's 7 shards.
Okay.
And they have to do the same thing, find these shards, but it seems to be only for Wade. It's only for Halliday's heir. So he's having people help him, like, get clues. And even when someone found one of the shards, they couldn't even touch it. Only he can do it. And so Halliday, or Anorak, is holding everyone hostage. You can't sign out of your Oni. It's called the Oni headset. You can't log out of it until I get the 7 shards. So now you have 12 hours to do this quest that for years people haven't even been able to find the
Jesus.
one. And then it's more of the same. It's, God, this fucking writer, man, he goes on and on. You got to go to the John Hughes world, where all of the John Hughes movies are playing at the same time, and you got to get Robert Downey Jr. because he was going to be the original Ducky, and have him perform at the prom, and it's like, it's the same shit we've gone through. Look at these references to things, and it goes on and on and on. It's like, you got 12 fucking hours to get 7 shards, and you're just like dicking around the whole time. And it really feels it's just for him to say, look how much I know. There's a prince world, and you have to fight 7 different princes at the same time. Like, the art
Like Aladdin and
no, like the art is formerly known as Prince.
I know what you meant.
And and there's a big there's a Tolkien world, and you have to defeat who's the big bad guy in the Lord of the Rings show. It's like
Sauron?
before Sauron there was Morgoth.
Yeah.
You have to defeat him.
I mean,
and
I'd
all
go to
stuff.
that world.
But and that's the one like the shortest of all of them.
That's a shame.
And it's kind of like we showed up and we did a thing and then we're done. And then he's gotta trick the virtual Halliday to get rid of him and gets his robes back. It fucking sucked. It's that same sort of nostalgic masturbatory thing again. It's just even more.
I mean, I know the book was critically panned pretty much.
Well, it was like critically loved, and then I think when people got over it, then they started panning it.
Fair enough. So last question, then we'll move on. So how did it end? Spoilers.
Yeah. He tricks him. He gets his robes back. He traps.
Anorak and the
Yeah. Does he delete them completely?
in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, it was all about because like when you get the shards, you would bring Kira back to life. And he wanted Kira because he didn't get to have her in real life, and she was one of the first people to have her brain mapped. So Halliday put her in, and she's aware that she's not the real Kira; she's just a digital copy. But also,
That seems pretty fucked up.
yeah, Halliday is a fucking psychopath in these books. He's not a good dude at all. And Wade comes off like a prick most of the time too, and of course he like learns his lessons and he gets back with Artemis, and then they get married, and then they were able to save the day and get everybody out of the system, but everybody who wants their brain that is mapped, they can have a digital version of themselves, be autonomous from them, and live in the Oasis, but they put a bunch of these people like Wade's avatar and Artemis's digital avatar onto that ship and then sent it out into the cosmos. So now nobody has to be on the ship. It's people in the Oasis on the ship, but if they have to control anything, they have like bots that they can pilot from within the Oasis. So you have pretty much an NPC controlling a robot, controlling a spaceship that's going through the solar system.
That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, but all in all, it's the writing is so poor. It really sounds like a 50-year-old dude trying to write for like 14-year-old girls. They just don't know how they talk, and it's always like, wow, Wade, you really are the most righteous Gunter there is. Like it's all really cringy, and maybe it is on purpose because they use slang and their media is all from the past. So why wouldn't they use it? But it just does not come off as natural. It was embarrassing. But after I was done, I had to rewatch the movie. Like, let me give it another shot. I watched it the one time, and it's even worse. That is seriously a garbage dog shit movie. Probably the worst Steven Spielberg movie. Nobody is fun. Wade isn't even a character in that. All the special effects look ugly. It's like almost played for comedy at points. There's a part at the end after they win and they're inside the little ambulance or ice cream truck or whatever, and like they open up the doors and it's like, we're the police, we're here to arrest you, and someone gets punched and then the doors close. Then they open again and then it's Simon Pegg with some people and they say a few things, then the door closes and then a second it opens again and it's another group of people, and it's a comedy edit, but it's not really a comedic movie. It's not that it's not funny but it's tonally completely off. That movie is shit. Like, if I had to make top worst 100, it'd be on there for sure.
Wow. All right. Someone's feeling spicy tonight.
So yeah, you don't need to worry about picking it up.
I mean, I did enjoy the book, but one of my major complaints was like, yeah, Wade's kind of like not a fun main character.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
It's just the concept of the world is what really sells this book.
Yeah,
because it's like it's really truly well thought out in terms of like if we had VR headsets that like we could live in this world, what would that world be like?
We're getting there. You've seen the new. Have you seen the new goggles that came out?
Yeah, I've seen the.
We're getting there. It's I'm not going to be piloting the Iron Giant fighting Mechagodzilla anytime soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have like multiple screens going while I'm going to the bathroom. I don't have to hold my phone.
Everyone's at home but at school at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. Back in my day, you had to go to a physical school.
Physical skill. Ew,
isn't that
a baby toy?
Isn't that where all the COVID monsters are? But yeah, so I got only one last thing, and it's the best thing that I've watched this year. But you could. Oh yeah, your thing is your last thing too, right?
My last thing is a thing
that we can talk about, and they can maybe be the title of this episode.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll go again. I watched Ted season 1. That's a funny fucking show. If you like Ted the movie,
I do.
If you like Seth Fartman, if you like Seth MacFarlane and his shtick, you like Family Guy, you like his sense of comedy, you should like this. It is a prequel. It takes place in like 93, and I had such a good time revisiting the world. Their dynamic is just really fun. And it was nice not having to look at Mark Wahlberg. And this kid is doing a really like good Bostonian accent. Like everybody's kind of doing that accent. And I like their relationship because it's very reminiscent of just how friends talk. Like you have a subject and you just like go off on a tangent back and forth. In a lot of shows, you get to a joke and then cut. Mm-hmm. And they will just keep going. Then you get another set of joke and you think the scene's done. Nope, we're still going. And then it evolves into a different topic. And it feels natural, even if it is like completely heightened and ridiculous. There's an episode where I don't want to say that. No, it's a later episode and it's kind of a spoiler. Okay. It's a big thing because I know you don't have Peacock, right?
I don't. So I've only seen I think 2 clips from the show, and one was Ted in church going like, "I might be Jesus."
Yes, that's
and
pretty
great. Ted at school insulting like a bully girl. Yeah.
A bully girl.
She made fun of somebody, and then he was just like, "Hey, Samantha, you act this way because you think no one knows about your eating disorder."
Oh, okay.
We all do.
Yeah. He's trying to get kicked out of school because all he does is sit around the house all day, and they're like, you need some perspective, so he has to go to school with what's his John,
yeah,
and he's trying to get kicked out and like tries to get weed and stuff, but the principal is like, no. I'm going to make something out of you. And, one of those characters.
I'm going to reach these teddy bears.
Yeah, exactly. The guy, Scott Grimes, who does Steve on American Dad, he plays the dad. And it's great seeing him in this role because he's a piece of shit. He's like that sort of quiet racist, or you don't know you're being racist when you're saying things. And he's hilarious. It's nice seeing him bring his voice down lower and not get so high. But the best character is the mom. And you saw Waiting, right?
Yeah.
You remember the waitress that was like pissed off all the time? That's the mom. I didn't know that until someone pointed it out, and it blew my fucking mind.
She's Frank's best whore or whatever. The one who's just like, "What's up, baby dick?"
Is it?
Yeah, that's her.
I thought that was a black woman that said that.
No.
Oh. Anywho, she's the mom, and she's just like this good little housewife. She goes to church, and she doesn't cuss or anything, and just wants to, like, everyone's cussing all around her, and she doesn't say anything, but she just wants to be the good mom, the nice mom, and she's just such a sweet little lady. She really wins over the show. And then he has his cousin living with him, and she's the that woke liberal, piece of shit teenager. I mean, she's not a teenager. She's like in college, but she's that character, a Haley from American Dad.
Sure, okay.
She understands the causes and has to point out people's bigotry and things like that. And it's kind of important to have. I'd say he's not like the worst character, but John's probably the worst because he's not much of a character. He's just like, him and Ted are both kind of like nice guys. They may say something really fucked up and mean to you, but they don't really mean anything behind it. And he's really kind of just there for Ted, so Ted could have someone else to bounce off of. But speaking of Ted, man, those special effects are great. You totally forget you're looking at a CG teddy bear. And it was the same watching the movie. You forget that that's not a living thing interacting with the world. It looks just as good. And he's not as foul-mouthed. He is still, but not as much because he's only like 8 years old in this. He's only been alive for a short amount of time, so he's still learning. And like the first episode is them trying weed for the first time. And, you know, there's an episode where John swears off porn, and he's never gonna. Oh, ha ha ha! That's funny because we know in the future that's not the case. But I was shocked how funny that first episode was. I was in stitches. Best thing I've watched this year. Absolutely, 100%.
Wow! All right.
Yeah.
If I could watch it, I'd give it a shot because I was a big fan of the movies, and even if like Seth MacFarlane's stuff doesn't always work for you, like a joke goes on too long, or a joke is just like too childish to be like funny. He does write some like really great jokes. He understands comedy.
Now he did create the show, but I think he may have only written like the first episode.
Oh, okay.
Other people,
but like if you know that,
but
it's like people write South Park episodes, but they know the humor.
Well, not really. That's not a good example. Trey Parker writes all the South Park episodes,
but he has a team.
He has a team. Yeah. They have the ideas, then he goes away and writes them. This would be the same thing. Like you have a team, he's there, and someone else writes it.
Yeah, it's funny when we talk about CGI characters and you forget that it's just like, you know, Gollum comes along and everyone's just like, holy shit. And then James Cameron's like, oh, I can make my blue people now. And so in terms of like movie characters, it's like Smeagol, Avatars,
the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Caesar from Planet of the Apes, and then Ted. Like those are your big five when it comes to CGI characters. The T-Rex from which one?
Jurassic Park.
I mean, okay.
Like if you're starting at like the
I'm thinking about like characters that can like talk and interact with humans. It's just like, you know, they're real characters, not a monster.
Okay, that makes sense.
But anyway, the Mount Rushmore of CGI characters. Smeagol. I mean, I guess maybe you could throw Yoda up there, but Yoda wasn't originally. So I'm going to say, Smeagol, Caesar, Avatar, and Ted.
I'll maybe cut this, but they have a lot of really fun conversations. I don't know if you saw maybe a clip of it where John says he watched the movie Alive and said like, wow, it's fucked up that you had to like eat people. You know, you're starving, you're stuck in the mountains, and you have to resort to eating people. And then it's double gross because you have to eat a dude. And Ted stops him like, wait, you have a preference? And it's like, yeah, you know, you eat the chicks first, and then if you have to, go to the girl. I'm like, I don't know why you would have that sort of preference. And that's a scene that just like goes on and on for a very long time. And it feels like a filler because they're in the plot. They are just waiting for someone to show up. So they just need a few minutes to talk, but they'll take it to this extreme. And they do it multiple times, and they have really good back and forth and just really fun comedy moments. I just loved it.
It's like the Flash Gordon scene where they're like high on coke and then just like, oh yeah, and anybody can come. Well, of course anyone can come. Like even Chinese people, or whatever he says. Like,
exactly.
Well, yeah. Of course Chinese people come. Why would you? It's like, no, I didn't use this. You know,
exactly. It's the comedy stylings are exactly the same as the movies. So
I mean. I would hope so.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't deviate.
It'd be weird if they didn't.
They have a good point. Like they go and see Jurassic Park, and they're like, that Steven Spielberg man, he found dinosaurs. I don't know. Like, no, it's fake. It's special effects. Like, no, you didn't see the movie. He found real dinosaurs. There's no other way you could do it. And then Ted says, my biggest gripe was that, and like, who's traveling in a big preserve like this with open cups of water in their truck? And like, yeah, that's a good point. Why did that not have a lid? Little jokes like that makes it so much fun. But let's get to our main topic.
Real quick, speaking of Seth MacFarlane, you can cut this.
Sure.
But I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts, and he came up and he was talking to Bill Maher. I don't know if you saw this, and Seth MacFarlane's like, there's a joke, and he's like, it's from some comedian on Twitter, and I don't remember the exact context, but he's just like, the joke that she wrote was, you know, when Superman flies over, you know, who was the person who got really excited about a bird? That's the joke. But just the way he delivered it, like Bill Maher was in stitches. I was like, that's really fucking funny.
See, I always took that as like they saw something fly and everyone said, "What was that?" And they're running through the possible ideas, but it's a bird. Yeah. That's funny.
If I could find it, I'll pull it up. But I was just like, it's one of those, like, it's such a simple joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because there's like almost no punchline.
Yeah.
But it's just...
It's a good observational thing that like I tell you a thing, now you think about it, and you will find it funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my McFarlane bit.
So I guess getting to our main topic, kind of weird, couple of months late, something already talked about.
Well, it's funny that you said this is the favorite thing you watched this year, because you said this was the favorite thing you watched last year.
Yes.
This is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
And now here's your chance to shit on things that I love and overhyped for you.
Well, I'm not going to shit on it, but I'm also not going to like...
Suck and stick?
Suck and stick, yeah. Or its tentacle or whatever the fuck is on this planet. So I watched Scavengers Reign. For those who don't know, Scavengers Reign is a show that was based off of the short that premiered on Adult Swim about these two. It was like 15 minutes long, no dialogue, of just two humans on this alien planet who would just keep running into like weird shit.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of ends. But they expanded to 12 episodes, about 25 minutes each episode. They had multiple characters. There is a storyline, and they just really expand this world. You said you loved it.
Loved it.
And I liked it, and I've said this before on the podcast, for its sheer audacity. It's my favorite way to describe a thing. Because in terms of creativeness, I've never seen anything like it, and every episode blew my mind in terms of like what they came up with. Because we've seen a bunch of movies or TV shows with, like, let's say dragons and different interpretations of dragons, but you're pretty much gonna get a dragon.
Yeah,
it has wings or it doesn't. It has 4 legs or it has 2. It breathes fire or breathes ice. You're not mixing it up too much. It's just every plant was interesting. Every creature was interesting. How they all interacted with each other was interesting. How one thing you could pull one plant and shove it in the mouth of one thing, and then it would poop out an egg that you would crack open, that you would shove into another plant, and that plant would shoot dust in the air, and then you would the dust would get in your eyes, and then suddenly you could see
the ultraviolet light, which just opened up a passage.
That's not something that actually happens, but that's just an example of like,
hey, here's a fish. Let me put it on my face.
Yeah,
and it's a gas mask.
Yeah, it's a Rube Goldberg machine of just like creatures.
But it's not as crazy as the short. The short was, we got to get to this end point, and they did like 15 to 20 things to get there. This is more like, well, what happens if I take this fish and I rub this acorn on it? Okay, now it's a hat. And it's like they don't always have some of the crazier things. It's usually step 1, step 2, and then we're done.
Yeah. So the basic plot line is a spaceship goes off course, crash lands on this planet. A few people survive the crash, but like they get in escape pods and have to make their way back to the ship. You basically get 4 separate storylines, and how like just different creatures they run into and how they converge. So you have one storyline with the captain of the ship and his like botanist essentially, and their trek back, and I think their stuff might have been my favorite. Just because they're the only people that get 2, like a duo, so they had someone to bounce off each other. Well, actually,
Ozzy
had, yeah. But we'll get to that.
Well, actually, they all kind of get someone they could bounce off of in a certain way.
Yeah. But I also just liked them because they were kind of they just seemed like good people. Where Ozzy and Cayman, I didn't like as much. Ozzy kind of grew on me as the story went along, because I think by the end Ozzy became my favorite.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And what was the 4th storyline? Because there was Cayman, Ozzy.
I was saying there's 4 people.
4 people. Okay, yeah. Well, 3 storylines.
3 storylines. Yeah.
And Ozzy, she is by herself, but with a robot
Mm-hmm.
named Levi, and she's kind of like the warrior character of the group. She's
Mm-hmm.
kind of badass. She's just like living in out of her escape pod,
She's
and
in a little more hostile area
yeah,
than
and
other
Levi
people
is
are.
helping her like defend her area against the giant bug creatures or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's got like this cool like motorcycle kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Love that thing.
And then there's Cayman, who's the reason the ship crashed, which we don't
Mhm.
know right away, I don't
No.
think. But he gets
What?
teamed up with a
Oh.
telekinetic panda creature,
Yeah.
essentially.
It's like a panda and a toad.
Yeah. And it has the ability to like make him see visions.
Yeah, because it
And
can't do anything itself. It makes smaller creatures gather food
Yeah.
for it because it can't do it on its own. And
as it eats, it gets bigger
It gets
until it
bigger.
becomes like this fucking elephant panda
Yeah.
with telekinetic powers. But anyway, so that's the general premise of the show.
and they're all just, they were able
they're
to
all
get a
just
shuttle down.
They're all just trying to get back to the ship so they can wake up the remaining crew that's in cryo sleep and hopefully get off planet.
Mhm.
So the story is very thin because there isn't a whole lot that it's just point A to point B and just the weird shit we run into the way. And then
Cayman has the most story.
Cayman has the most story, but it's a story I care the least about. I
Really?
did not care about Cayman.
Oh, I love that the creature is just like manipulating him into thinking he's talking to his girlfriend. I thought it was all really interesting. He was a huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
That took it upon himself to do a thing that he absolutely shouldn't have done. But I always was thinking, let's get back to him. At least for the first half. The second half, once he's inside the creature, then I started caring a little bit less.
Yeah, I think that was my big problem when he was like basically being manipulated and he's having to like whittle a stick into a spear so he can kill creatures for this thing. It was like that stuff was kind of interesting because it's like, oh, here's this drug so I can see the woman I love who's probably dead. Like there's something there, but like you said, once this creature absorbs him, it's just like, oh well, then he's just essentially sidelined, and then we're just getting these like dream sequences of him like at the park trying to get this chick to like love him in any sense. It's
Go
just
to
like
space
real
with me.
Yeah, it was just like real sad and real bummer. And like I'm not rooting for the guy because you're the dude who fucking crashed the ship. Like if anyone should be dead or left behind, it should be you.
And he gets like a happy ending too.
Yeah, for the most part.
And then still salty about it. And it like
I fuck Cayman. I did not like Cayman's story, and I didn't like the weird space telekinetic panda. It was just I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me really.
Okay.
I think it's a fun, like a scary villain in that sense. Like it's just ability to like pick a human up and twist it around and snap its neck. It just seems like in a world where like every creature has an ability that makes sense and it is functional, and then here's like one that has magic. It just
sure.
I'm a big magic fan.
Yeah.
But it's just this creature should just be like ruling this planet or like other creatures like it, but it doesn't. I don't know. I just didn't care for it. And I liked Levi's.
I think Levi's my favorite.
Levi, I liked the idea of a robot getting infected by a parasitic organism that just kind of gave it life.
Yeah.
Where I can feel things now, and I don't have to follow direct orders. And
I just want to create my own garden and
you
raise
just like
my own
creating
creatures.
art and building stuff. Like I thought that was a new take on AI I haven't really seen before, where it was like technology meeting nature and building something new, and the fact that it was growing organic Levi babies at the end, I was like, that's kind of weird and fucking cool. But I think the reason why Sam and Ursula's storyline was my favorite was just because they were like explorers. I didn't need the like action adventure Levi stuff going up against Space Pain. I didn't need Cayman's descent into madness and his journey of like trying to better himself, if that's what he was even trying to do or whatever. I just wanted like two people exploring this planet and running into stuff. And
running into a wall of weird pipes and going, what the fuck is this? How do we do it? Hey, I got a feather. Oh, that's a magic feather that lets us get through.
Because they also run into all the best creatures in my opinion. They run into these like, I'm going to try and not say like as much. I know I've been doing this whole episode. I'm sorry. They run into these ostrich creatures that they have these. I'm just gonna call them feathers because I don't know what else you would call that. Wrap around their face, and then but they're shiny, and so they use the sun to cook their prey.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like the coolest fucking thing.
Yeah.
Or they
My favorite that they ran into were the sacks hanging from the tree that punctured him in the neck, got his DNA, grew a clone of him that chased after him.
scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah, but that I thought though my only problem with that was that in a normal show that would be a season long thing.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing that's chasing me. But that's a one episode.
That's one episode.
And then
they move on to the next cool fucking thing.
Yeah. They run into this plant that took over a woman's brain and made her. It was like a H.P. Lovecraft creature that was like really scary and
I love that ending for
that
her.
parasitic.
Are you talking about the bitch that left the kid behind and went into space with the flower? Because
No. I'm talking about the woman who saves Sam, but she also puts like this black seed into his chest, and then you find out that she is being controlled by this plant that started as something small, but then grew, and like that thing was really scary, and just had this one random eye in it. And I liked that. Oh, we need to jump off. Let's they grabbed a plant that turned into like a propeller thing that was able to kind of like make them fly down, and then use the fish that the snail thing that they put over, and that was how they were able to breathe underwater.
They were in the cave, and they were like, "Don't touch the stuff because the mushrooms."
Oh yeah, it was like a gas mask.
She has a vision of her like mutating into one, but then it didn't happen. I don't understand. It was in the first episode.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh, she's dead, but she isn't. I don't know what happened there. Because she saw, like, a dude bloom out and saw his face, and it exploded, and then she started, like, mutating all Akira style, and then it just, like, blink. Nope, that didn't happen. So she was just having a vision of that happening?
I watched it all kind of... whatever. I don't remember if that was just a dream sequence she had, or a vision, or if she... got some spores or whatever it was into her, and it sort of like knocked her out, and while she was unconscious she had this vision that she thought was real, but then she just woke up and like, oh, I just ingested enough of this random shit or whatever that made me freak out. But what else was there? I don't know, they just ran into so much cool shit, but the coolest thing, and I think you talked about it before when you brought up the show for the first time, was Ursula is in this like weird forest place, and she's looking at this plant, and it's this beautiful like glowing plant, and then it opens up, and there's just like a little dude in there,
guy.
And the little dude wakes up and pushes a button, and then it expands some more, and then these blue little orbs come out, and it's just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, and then he just lays back down, and he ages instantly, and it just gets reabsorbed in the plant, and then the plant just closes, and you're just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But it was also just like the coolest visual I've ever seen.
Yeah. That is in the short. It's a little different,
right?
But he does the thing where he's like pulling levers, and he's slowly aging as he goes to the other side, and then he's a little shriveled up guy.
This whole thing's existence is to die or live, die, and be reborn, to open up this flower that seemingly does nothing.
Yeah.
But it's just like that kind of weird shit, and where all these animals have really cool functions and really neat ideas. I've never seen anything so creative on a consistent basis where every episode... Oh, the last thing I want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I guess we could talk about the crew that comes down and teams up with Ozzy, but I don't really care.
It's fine. It's just, she gets her comeuppance. I'm going to leave the kid behind. I took a flower with me, and now I got Cronenberg.
The worst part about those three joining the team, that guy getting the Venus flytrap crushed. Awful. Just having like vines wrap around you and crush, and you could hear all the bones breaking. He has blood coming out of his eyes and mouth, and he's just like, and he's still alive. He's just hurt enough where he can't die. Oh god. Yeah,
they weren't afraid to shy away from blood and guts.
Yeah, it's a pretty violent show.
It really is, and it hard to describe. Of very simplistic art, but extremely highly detailed at the same time. It's little things of Ozzy, I think it was Ozzy, like stops and turns and does like a little hop before she runs, and it's a blink and you miss it sort of thing. But like, they didn't need to do that, but just that little couple of frames of animation just add so much more realism to the show. It's impressive how minimal they can be, but still get so much information across.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you not, love it as much as me? You seem to be saying all these very nice and positive things. So what's the big
I'm
negative?
blown away by the visuals and the creativity of the creatures and the planet. Like when we think of, like, you're a big sci-fi guy and I like sci-fi. Like when we go, usually when you see a sci-fi thing, it's like, okay, this is the monkey creature. This is
the horse. This is the fish. Yeah.
And there's like elements to that,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still so interestingly designed, or they're not just the monkey with extra teeth or whatever, or like 6 arms.
Mm-hmm.
It's the monkey with razor teeth that bites them and does this. There's new functions to these creatures that, like, okay, maybe that's based off of this, but it also looks very different. It's got a different color scheme and also has like a totally different function. So I was constantly amazed as to that aspect of the show. But in terms of just like these characters going from point A to point, I wasn't blown away by any particular character too much. The storyline, I didn't care. Like I said, I did not care for Cayman and his whole bit. I did like the end where I didn't care about the final boss fight with the panda. I didn't like Chris and Danny or whatever their fucking names are. Them coming down and joining Ozzy. I didn't like them as a group at all. But I did like the ending where they all, like, we can't get off the planet because she took the ship, but we'll make a life here because we can't. The 3 of us learned to survive here or whatever. Them having her, like, Ursula having her botanist laboratory with all the different plants and stuff and growing, like, that it seems sweet. I'd like to see them build a colony on this world. That just seems like everything. This is after Earth. Everything on this planet has evolved to kill humans. I think I would recommend the show just to see something you've never seen before, but it's not a show I could necessarily pitch my parents. It's not a show that like really captivated me story wise or character wise. It's just all that stuff is just fine, but the world is amazing. So that's my problem.
And
B+.
And you could even give me less story and focus on it. Could be a National Geographic Planet Earth sort of special of just look at these weird creatures, and I'm totally fine watching that. I certainly agree. Yeah.
If it followed the main short, and I don't know if you could make it silent for 12 episodes and captivate me, but just I really like this world, and I want to see what else they have to offer, as long as it's just as creative. But yeah, the storyline is just okay.
Here's open season 2. Works or gets made. I think it was approved for a season 2, but who knows how long. It took them like 8 years to get it into a real show from a short. And I know a lot of that's shopping it around and deals and stuff like that.
Animation ain't cheap.
It's true, yeah. And maybe, if HBO actually promoted this or put it on their regular programming, maybe it could have, got a little more of a following.
Do you know if it was nominated for any Emmys or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was going to say, because I could see the show being nominated for Emmys and winning stuff. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is Scavengers Reign?
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the Emmys, maybe we talked about this already, but Better Call Saul, 0 Emmys.
0?
That entire show got 0 Emmys. Ray Seahorn didn't win.
More nominations than pretty much any show ever.
And it got nothing. That's pathetic. And I know Succession's really popular, and I even kind of considered starting it, but it's also another one of those, do I give a shit? Everyone's just a bunch of assholes, and they're rich assholes on top of it. Do I really want to watch a show about them? Am I going to root for these characters? And I know people like The Bear, but you're telling me The Bear is a better comedy than Better Call Saul? I don't think so.
It's not a comedy.
Yeah. It's just like, The Martian winning for best comedy or musical. They're like, well, we really like The Martian, but we couldn't put it up against anything else.
It wasn't going to win the drama category, but it
could win this, a category that it doesn't belong in. Okay, I think that's good enough. We're just hitting the 2-hour mark, so let's wrap this shit up.
Alrighty.
Next week, I'm actually legitimately excited to see Madam Web. I'm just going to embrace Sony, what is it called? The Sony Pictures universe of Marvel movies. The SPUM universe is what it's called.
Okay.
Not officially, but around the horn. I did not like Venoms, either of them. I think I like Morbius more than I like the Venom movies. The Venom movies just like kind of annoy me. I don't like the Andrew Garfield movies, but all of these movies have little bits where it's like, okay, I like the design of Venom. I think they got the look right. Same with Morbius. Morbius looks like Morbius. I like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. You know, there's things I like about all this, but they're not good. It's a low tier universe. It's pretty bad when you're worse than the DC universe. But I'm just kind of embracing it because we're gonna get Craven this year as well, and maybe a Venom 3. And I'm just
this is going to be a bad year for movies.
Especially comic book movies. Like the only good one is probably going to be Deadpool. And even that could end up being real stupid. You don't know. So I'm just going in, just eager for the terrible jokes, the bad acting, the especially the Dakota Johnson. Like I thought I liked Dakota Johnson, but
Name a good Dakota Johnson movie, like
I'd have to look at her IMDb.
the one scene from The Social Network.
The one scene from The Office. Yeah, it's hard, but it's like I felt like I liked Dakota Johnson, but all of her promotion for this, you can tell she does not give a fuck about this movie. She is just going through the motions, and I find it hilarious. So I'm excited to see how this all shakes out, because maybe this is a good one. You never know. It could be.
I would put money on it's not.
But yeah, next week, Madam Web, and because you get like 3 extra days of it being released, yeah,
I know.
more than enough
I'll
time.
see it. I already talked to my wife.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. Yeah.
I'm off on Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Maybe I'll sneak away.
Yeah, you go, oh, babe, let me go get some food. And then you go see Madam Web and like, oh, babe, I forgot the food.
Sounds like a plan. I'll do that.
All right, so if you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Threads, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, kinda. I never do social media posting anymore. I fucking hate it. It's like the worst part of doing all this. Once I get it edited and uploaded, I just don't have the energy to make a stupid Instagram post. So yeah, I'm not really doing a good job at that. But if you want to email at us and make fun of us, you know, do that. So as always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
And keep consuming.